weekly breakdown of every NASCAR Cup Series race. Here are your hosts, Kevin Bedstone, NASCAR Sky, and Jeff Davis.
Welcome back, race fans, to another episode of Nash the Gas on NASCAR Sky. Joining me shortly, Kevin and Jeff, and we're going to recap NASCAR's return to Chicagoland. Shout out Chase Briscoe and the 19 team for getting their first win of the season while holding off a fast Christopher Bell, who was also looking for his first win of the season. Then we're going to turn the page to EchoPark. Where's my sticker for saying it correctly? But before we get into all of that, you know the drill. Jeff, who mashed the gas the hardest?
Well, Chase Briscoe, he led 51 laps, got his first win there at Chicago Speedway, and his sixth career win. So, shout out to Chase Briscoe and just as much the entire Joe Gibbs stable, finishing P1, 2, and 3. It seemed like the Chevys with Hendrick kind of started picking it up a little bit during this race, but they just could not overcome those Toyotas. It was just an amazing race overall. I loved how we had multiple grooves. The track was it was badass, lots of action, lots of passing. We had 28 different lead changes. It was just a great race overall. But yeah, seeing Chase Briscoe there getting his win for the 4th of July weekend was just awesome.
Well, and that moved him up 3 spots in the points, Jeff. So really a much needed weekend for that 19 team. They started off a little shaky earlier this season, but we knew they would find their groove. Toyota just has too much speed on the mile and a halves, and I think we pretty much predicted that. I had taken Denny Hamlin to win this race, but it's another JGR 1, 2, 3. Great finish for Seabell. These guys have a lot of momentum, but man, another heartbreak for Tyler Reddick. He's just bleeding away those points with these DNFs. Bubba Wallace, obviously the best Toyota, I think, for 2311 this weekend, but man, Reddick, he's a little snake bit right now.
That's what happens when you use all of your good luck in the first 5 races or 6 races of the season. I'm sure it's just a little bit of a down slope. He'll come back up, I'm sure. You don't perform as well as he did and not, at least that's the hope anyway. I loved Chicagoland. I thought it was good. The only thing I wish maybe the rain wasn't such a big factor. I feel like NASCAR, Chicago, and rain just kind of go hand in hand now. But that race had a little bit of everything. There was the retaliation, there was wrecks, there was issues on pit road strategy, long runs, short runs. I don't know. I really liked it. It was a little bit of everything, and I think it's sold out. So hopefully NASCAR is going to look and try to keep it on the schedule. However, I do think that the street course was really good as well. So I don't know. It's tough, but I was really, really happy with Chicagoland.
Yeah, solid track. I think it's something that we should keep on there. It's worn really, really well. I know Blaney mentioned from testing tires back in, I think it was April or May, when he was out there with Kyle Larson. And, they're saying that the fall off, being this track hasn't been ran in 7 years, the fall off is actually pretty good. And the track is worn in really well. Yeah, there's a few bumps in there, as Kyle Larson actually found out that he could not quite handle going 180 miles an hour. But overall, I think it produced. And like you mentioned, Sky, it was a completely sold out crowd. It was awesome. Like I said, there was so much action going on. But yeah, Tyler Reddick, I did feel bad for him. Unfortunately, just not his day, which kind of makes me think a little bit back, you guys. During the San Diego race, there was a lot of debate about, the very last lap where Tyler Reddick kind of gave Riley Herbst. He didn't seem like he ran him as hard as he normally would have, being that he was a teammate and everything. And you're sitting there wondering, going, okay, with all the wins that Tyler Reddick had racked up, how far ahead he was in the points, being where he is now. Do you think that he's looking back at this, Kevin? Do you think that he's actually going, man, I probably could have got that win, and he didn't. And I think it's kind of going to affect him, because I think he could have won that race.
I think drivers are always kicking themselves over what they should have, could have, would have done better, differently. We've seen so many times the regular season come down to 1 point, 2 points. It's like, man, if I just didn't do this back in, San Diego, or did that at Sonoma, we would have been in this thing. So every point matters, and we're seeing that for sure. Denny Hamlin's solid day, increasing his points position. But if Reddick had been in that situation, could have kept that deficit a lot tighter for sure. You mentioned Larson going into the grass there. That was, the rain, like Scott mentioned all weekend, really, this was probably the biggest negative from Chicagoland weekend, was the fans. The parking was a complete disaster. As of Sunday morning, they had parking lots A, B, D, C, E, and K completely closed. So they were parking miles away from the racetrack, and the fans, they had showed somebody had taken a video and put it on Twitter of people still coming in, just lines of people well after we took the green flag. So yeah, it was a sellout, but I think the infrastructure at Chicagoland is going to need some work if we're going to go back there this time of year. It's the Midwest; they get a lot of weather, So what Kyle Larson was experiencing in the infield is what the fans were experiencing out in the parking lots.
Yeah, I did see that, and that is a big factor. I hope NASCAR can figure that out because it's never fun. I mean, people. I remember that happened at Daytona, the Daytona 500 with all that extra security. There was fans that couldn't get in, and nobody wants that. I mean, you pay to see the race, you want to watch the whole thing. So it is just unfortunate there, and I do think, I mean, there's going to be hiccups anytime you bring back a track. So hopefully they figure it out. I mean, the weather, it is difficult because you can't really control the weather, maybe unless you just change the time of year that you go there maybe, but even then, like I said, I don't know what it is with NASCAR in Chicago, but I feel like it is always just bringing rain. But we mentioned the Toyotas. It was a really good race for the Chevys as well. The 24 honestly surprised me a lot because we haven't talked about him a lot this season. To see him get a good finish to lead some laps, that was really good. But Ryan Blaney, I feel like he's the only person that didn't get the memo that the Fords are not doing good right now because he is just so incredible. And I don't know, maybe if it's him getting, paired up with Jonathan Hassler a couple years ago or whatever, but Blaney is just so much better than everybody in the field. And this is not just me glazing him because I'm a Penske fan. It is honestly just so crazy. I mean, to see that, I mean, granted, yeah, Joey and Cindric, I guess, also did have pretty decent days. I know the 17 was up there for a while as well. So it wasn't a total bust for all the Fords, but I don't know. Blaney is just on fire. Like Denny Hamlin said this year, I think he's like the best driver on the track.
Blaney's kicking ass. I mean, for a while there, I was also thinking, Austin Cindric in that 2 car he was putting on a hell of a show. I think it was one of his better showings this year so far. But you're right. The 12 is carrying the camp right now, finishing P7. I thought he had a really good car. I don't think he had what it took to beat the Toyotas right now. But I'm still kind of curious, how the hell did Joey Logano wind up pulling a 12th out of this race? I mean, he was running back in the pack, in the mid pack, right around the 20s, almost the entire race. Next thing you know, I turn around and he finished P12. I was like, man, I mean, it was good for Joey. He needed it, but I was really shocked to see him just outside the top 10 at the end of that race. But the other thing was, Toyota, again, out of 10 spots out of the top 10, 7 of them were actually Toyotas. So we obviously know that they're dominating right now. Rick Hendrick had 2 Chevys in there, and there was 1 single Ford with, Joey Logano, with Ryan Blaney. But William Byron, I wanted to give him another shout out too, because his laps so far led this entire season is 44 laps. This race, he led 94 laps. I was actually really pulling for William Byron on this one because of how good he was doing. But again, he just couldn't hold it up with the Toyotas, Kevin.
Well, they're improving, and that's what they need to be doing this time of year. I mean, when you look at the point standings, sure, William Byron's sitting 12th right now. Padded his laps led a little bit, got some more confidence. Larson, not so good, right? He dropped down a spot. We talked about Joey Logano. He moved up 2 spots. He needs it. He's within arm's reach of getting back into the chase. We talked about Ryan Blaney. He has more top 10s this season than anybody in the field with 14 top 10s, only 3 top 5s. He's got that 1 win. But Blaney is in that position at 113 points back from Denny Hamlin, where he keeps running like this, maybe get a win at, New Hampshire, Iowa, easily can win there. He's going to be right back in this thing for the hunt for the regular season championship, I think.
I think he can do it. I really do. Because like you said, he's only 113 behind Kevin. So, if he keeps running like he is, and if Tyler Reddick has the unfortunate luck that he's had a little bit lately, it is going to be hard to beat Denny Hamlin, obviously. But I think Blaney is within shot. But you're absolutely right, Sky. The 12 is carrying the camp right now. And I think he does have a shot for being the regular season number 1 spot. I did want to say, the William Byron, though, did really max out his points winning stage 1 and 2. And then with where he finished, I think he got a total like 53 points overall, something like that. So, keeping those points up and winning stages is going to become more and more important, now that we've got 7 races left to go. So I think we're going to start seeing a lot of pit strategies, Sky, with these guys needing those those stage points.
Yeah, if you're, not like we talk about all year, you're not in like the top six, top five, you got to start switching and doing something up because at this point, start being different, being creative, doing different things because you're not just going to magically gain on all these people who have, when you look at how many points Denny Hamlin and the 45 were like in the 700s or whatever, you got to start changing it up. But Blaney, looking forward to the tracks that are coming up. I mean, those are all really good tracks for Blaney. We talked about EchoPark, North Wilkesboro, then obviously Penske is very good. Well, Penske owns Indy, so you hope that they would be very good there, and they usually try to take pride and finish well there. So 113 points is not a lot when you have three tracks that you're very good at coming up.
Oh, he's definitely got him circled for sure. I mean, New Hampshire, going back to a track he won out there. Iowa, we know he can win at, right? All these flat, short tracks play right into him. Daytona, that's a roll of the dice. Echo Park, I'd say, is a little bit of a roll of the dice, but he can win it anywhere from now until we get to the start of the chase. So, but these RFK Fords, sticking to the Ford manufacturers, I felt bad for old RFK Racing. I mean, BK comes out, qualifies great. I put him in my fantasy lineup going, Brad's got decent history. He's building on the mile and a halfs. Chris Buescher was running up there in the top five for a while. They just dropped off. They did kind of the exact opposite of what Joey Logano did. Their cars got worse. Joey's got better. Ford is just missing something. I don't know what it is. It's hard to tell. I think it's the same thing that Trackhouse is struggling with on the Chevy side because this was another disastrous weekend for the entire Trackhouse organization, Jeff.
Yeah, Trackhouse, you're absolutely right. Ross Chastain had the best finish coming in P18. And, Connor Zilic, man, if it wasn't for bad luck, he wouldn't have any luck at all. I mean, lap number 2, man, I just felt so bad for him. And, it was just terrible. Zilic is such a good driver. And like we are kind of saying, before we got on the air, luckily he's the only driver that's a rookie this year. So by default, he's going to get rookie of the year. But if you look at all the races so far this year and who has taken last place over all the races, Connor Zilic has finished dead last at 8 races so far this year. And he just kind of feels so bad for him because they're all DNFs. It's not, and it's, obviously I would say 90% of them aren't even his fault, and it's not because he's a rookie and making mistakes. He's just in the wrong damn place at the wrong damn time. So really unfortunate for Connor. I know he's going to do really, really well. But since you're talking about Trackhouse, Sky, what do you think about the old SVG and the Austin Hill situation?
It's something that I don't want to see. Like I'm all for. I think revenge is a part of NASCAR. It's always been a part of NASCAR. Tempers flare. At any sport. I mean, you watch any sport, the World Cup, for example. I mean, they're fighting on the field. It's always going to happen. I don't like when you're doing it on a track where you're going so fast. Like, we don't want to see people hurt. Like, that's my main thing. Like, no matter what, I understand you're upset and I understand you're frustrated, but I don't want to see anybody get hurt because of that. And we've noticed, like, I always think back to Kurt Busch because and you can even say Dale Earnhardt too, or Junior. I mean, that with the concussion in the head, it's just so much stuff like that. It's so little. Alex Bowman earlier this season being out. I don't want to see that with these drivers. So I think if you're gonna, retaliate, to me it was blatant. I think both of them. I don't know if I say blatant, but both of them are definitely. You can make a strong case that this definitely looked intentional. The first one. Oh, who was it? The 77 and the 38, I think. It, I don't know. And then when you think about when you think about the way that host of our races, I don't want to say he deserves it, but like it's a give and take type thing. But my main issue is I don't want to see it on these tracks where we're going so fast, in these corners where you're hit. I don't know. That's where I just worry. I like to see NASCAR be consistent. They tried to be so big man tough about this rule. Oh, we're not putting up with any of this, but I feel like it really hasn't changed much. There's been so many questionable calls both ways this year. If you're going to penalize Priest, I don't know. I get the whole radio conversation. I don't know. Is that how we're going to get away with it? You can wreck someone really bad as long as you don't say something on the radio. I don't know. NASCAR mainly, they just need to get consistent with this call.
Yeah, we've been saying that for the better part of 2 years now with where is the line in the sand? We know that right rear hooks are always going to be a no-go unless it was at COTA in 2025 and then somehow Austin Cindric gets away with it. Right. So it's like the right rear hooks in the mile and a half, no-go. You're getting chastised for that. But at what point, because if I come on the radio and say I'm going to wreck somebody, the Ryan Preece and Ty Gibbs incident earlier this year, Preece didn't even really touch him. It was almost like he got arrow loose, but because he came on the radio and said, I'm going to go give it to the 54, boom, penalty. SVG doesn't come on the radio yesterday, Jeff, and say that he was going to do anything. He's just like, oh, I got into him, whatever. It happens. It was kind of like when Matt Kenseth wiped out Joey Logano, was like, yeah, I just didn't have any brakes. So where does NASCAR draw the line in the sand? It needs to be clear. It needs to be communicated in the driver's meeting. If you guys do this, you will get penalized.
I know they didn't show this on the air, but I did see a clip of Austin Hill kind of, on that caution, kind of racing up the track, passing about 3 or 4, maybe even 5 cars on the inside lane, so you could kind of get into the 97 and just give them a bump there, which was completely uncalled for. So if there's not a potential penalty on that, and NASCAR doesn't say anything about that, I mean, like I said, we were under caution, we were below the line, everyone's single file, and that's just uncalled for. What I did find was kind of funny though was Austin Hill's spotter when he got on the radio and said, old Van Guggenheimer or whatever you say the effing last name is, and then of course old Richard Childress got on there and just said, hey, it was just payback for California. But interesting situation there, and like Sky was mentioning a minute ago about Zane Smith getting into the back of Hocevar. These guys don't forget things. They remember all the wrecks, all the little things here and there. Zane Smith, if you're gonna like give someone the bump and take someone out, don't wreck yourself while you're doing it. Just don't. Give them the tap, move on by them, and keep on racing so they can't catch up with you and get your ass back again. So yeah, there was a little drama that was going on there, and I don't know if you guys caught this or not, because I didn't until I saw something on Twitter. It was pre-race, and two guys are right behind the booth, literally got in a fist fight right behind Jeff Burton. While they were panning over, this dude kicks this guy in the chest, spits all his beer out, and then they get in a fist fight sitting there in the back of pit road, and the camera just kind of panned across it. So I think we had a lot of drama going on the track, off the track, and just a little bit of everywhere. But again, overall, man, I thought it was a great weekend. Although other than you guys mentioned the rain, it was terrible, but at least it dried out for the Cup to be able to have the race. But definitely a lot of drama, and I definitely hope they bring it back next year.
Yeah, I vote for Chicagoland to come back again. I've always liked that racetrack. It feels a lot like Kansas. It just feels like it needs a little bit more TLC. I mean, we had holes in the, they were trying to fill in the middle of the race, and I like worn out surfaces for sure. I think that creates for awesome racing. I'm not advocating for a repave, but I think if they just button some things up, get the fan experience a little bit better. You're always going to have people drinking too much and getting into it. I very rarely see that at NASCAR. I see that more at other, major sports. But every now and again, you're going to have some riffraff. I didn't see that though. I did not catch that altercation. Did they air it on TNT?
No, they didn't. Like I said, I didn't see it at all until I had to watch it a couple times when I saw it on Twitter. Someone caught it off the TV and actually showed it, and they were just sitting there in the background. Two guys getting in an argument. It's just funny as hell. But yeah, Chicago, like I said, they put on a great race, and you're right, Kevin. They shouldn't repave that track. And NASCAR, I know that a lot of people are like, well, it's not as popular as it used to be, but it is coming back up in popularity. I mean, look at the last 6 to 7 weeks. We've had sellouts of the Coca-Cola 600. They sold out Nashville, Michigan, Pocono, San Diego, and Chicagoland. So if we're selling out crowds, and that's why Chicago lost that race 7 years ago, is because they weren't filling the stands. So if they can keep those stands full and the action packed on the track like it was this weekend, there is no reason not to bring it back.
I agree. All-time attendance high for sure. It was a sellout. Clean up the fan experience. I think you're going to have a lot of repeat, fans going back. I mean, I think a lot of fans went to the Chicago downtown street course that Sky likes, and they're like, well, now I want to see it on an oval, but I don't really want to travel. Well, there it is. It's 45 minutes from downtown Chicago. So it's an important market. We have to have Chicago, whether it's on the road, whether it's on the oval. But I thought it was one of the better races this year, Sky.
I 100% agree. Like I said, I feel like he had a little bit of everything. I felt like the winner was well deserved. I mean, he finished really well last weekend. It's not like it was totally out of the blue. The reason that I really like the street course is I think that it just opens up such a different market, and especially a younger market, or a younger fan base that we can appeal to. But I love Chicagoland because I feel like it kind of appeals to the old heads, the people that have been watching for a long time, and it races really well. Like you said, maybe just a little bit of fixes here and there. I mean, I'm sure this is just a trial to see how the fans feel about it. But I before I finish, I did want to say I did not see that fight either, and I want to look it up so bad after this because that is actually hilarious.
If I
Then I
find it, I'll
can't.
send it to you.
You gotta. Yeah, but I absolutely just love Chicagoland. But is there a world where we do both? Maybe obviously not like back to back, but is there a world where we do both?
Well, we do it in Texas, right? We have Texas Motor Speedway, and then we have COTA down in Austin. Sure, it's about 3.5 hours apart, close to where Jeff lives. We do it in California now, San Diego, and then on up into Sonoma. I think it's possible to have both. I think the idea is we rotate these street courses. We still haven't heard any confirmation if we're going back to San Diego, but everything that I'm reading and seeing is that they're very much in communications with bringing that back to Naval Base Coronado. So, until that 2027 schedule comes out, there's still some things that could be penciled in.
I think it'd be good to have both of them in there. The Chicago Street Course, it's pretty good. It's not my favorite by all means, but I think it deserves to be on the circuit. I know that San Diego had a hard time just because of the logistics of being on the base itself. It's really hard parking, and I know there were concession problems with food, water, stuff like that. And California is one of those tracks or one of the states that does not allow you to bring your own drinks or alcohol into the stands, like majority of tracks do. I think it's only Phoenix, let's see here, Vegas, and then California. The tracks there are the only 4 tracks that don't allow you to bring in your own alcohol or beverages. So it would help if you can bring in your cooler full of stuff and not have to worry about running out. Plus, it saves on the dollar. Saves on your pocketbook too.
It's
That's
a
one
state
thing
law.
I've always. It is. It's a state law. I know it's not a NASCAR track. It's definitely a state law, but it still helps on your pocketbook when you're not having to pay $12-13 for a beer.
I didn't realize that those states didn't allow you to bring it in, and I feel bad for those fans because I can only imagine, especially like California, how much you're paying at, for liquor there. Like I can only imagine.
Well, that's why Jeff always brings up Phoenix. We went to that track many times, and you can't bring anything in there. So between beers and hot dogs, you're dropping $300-400 because they can price gouge at that point. So fortunately, that wasn't the case in Chicago. They that's a state where they can probably bring in a lot of their own stuff, but you can't really. A lot of other leagues and sports don't allow it either, though. Even though it's a state law, Jeff, like you can't do it at the NFL. I know the NHL, you can't walk in with alcohol in those locations either. So that's what makes NASCAR kind of, yeah, exactly. So that's what makes NASCAR unique is you can save. Like when I would tell people that, these football fans that have never been, like, what do you mean you can bring your own beer there? They're used to spending $20 a pop when they go see whatever NFL team they're going to see.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. I've had friends, actually we'll take a water bottle, fill up a little bit of Jack in there and make some Jack and Coke as long as it's in plastic. You're not bringing any glass. That's one of the things that are super cool about NASCAR, even with your own food. Go ahead, bring in your own snacks or sandwiches or whatever you want. Because, ticket prices aren't getting any cheaper on any sport. But like Kevin, you were mentioning, the price gouging that goes on at all other sporting events or even concerts for that matter, too. Went to a show just last week and hell, the beers with tip were $20. Now, yes, they were a tall boy, but you can buy a rack of beer for $20. So, when they know they have you there and you have nowhere else to go, you're just SOL on pulling out that old credit card or debit card and giving her a swipe.
Now imagine being a Jets fan and spending $20 on beer at a game.
Ridiculous.
Anywhere you go, any sport price gouges. Yeah. Look at baseball getting a hot dog and a beer. It's like $25.
Yeah, it is. It's ridiculous. Like I said, I went to a concert. I don't know anyone who knows who Primus is. They're an old school band, kind of prog rock stuff. But yeah, I bought 2 beers, and with tip is almost $44 for 2 beers. And I didn't even get any food. So but between the parking that you pay at a lot of places, which is another great thing about NASCAR. You don't have to pay for parking at any of the tracks. You go to any other sport, whether it's hockey, football, baseball, whatever, you're looking at $25 to $40 just for parking. And then you go in there and get gouged on beer or even just water. I mean, who the hell wants to pay $5-6 for a bottle of water that should only be like 50 cents? It's absolutely ridiculous. And I know we should quit going on about the price gouging and stuff like that. That is just one of the cool things that NASCAR does in the states that do allow it, besides, like I said, California, Nevada, and Arizona that will allow you to bring in your own food and drink. Makes it more of a family sport too. You want to go in and have a picnic with your family and go sit out there on the lawn, or pregame it, grill some stuff up, whatever. You gotta love NASCAR for that, you guys.
No question. It's the best fan experience in all of sports. I mean, the people watching the World Cup would probably argue with me on that right now because those fans are absolutely out of their minds. I think USA is getting ready to play here, so we'll wrap this up shortly. But on to EchoPark Speedway for our second visit of the year. It's Tyler Reddick, of course, took it back when he was on his 5-race win streak. Runs like a super speedway, mile and a half. The pit road entry coming down the back straightaway into turn 3. It's a really unique racetrack. I've always loved Atlanta. I love that market. I like this racetrack. I think it does deliver. But when you look at it, it's another Talladega or Daytona, right? There's no real consistency to it the way we analyze it, right, Sky?
You're better off just putting all the names in a hat, picking one out. Like I always say, there you go. That's probably a better guess than sitting there and trying to like math it out and figure out who's going to finish where. I mean, it's usually just about surviving. But there is a couple guys that usually hang around at the end. Todd Gilliland might be a good pick to at least get a top 10 because he's usually hanging around towards the end of these. And that's the biggest thing is it doesn't matter how good you race the first 2 stages. You just got to be able to be around for the finish. And there's not really any math there because I remember Denny Hamlin last year, maybe he hung around the back the entire race and then got wrecked on the last lap. Like it doesn't matter. It's just so difficult with these tracks. Like I said, get your hat ready because there you go. That's how you're going to pick.
And that's the way it goes. In all 4 turns, you got 28% banking. It's just, full throttle it, do what you can. Being it's a mile and a half, obviously we don't need to do a restrictor or anything on that. But yeah, it's just tough. Zane Smith got a top 5 in last year for the fall race. SVG got P6 in the race there in February. So there's, it could be any drivers. I think Chase Briscoe is another good one there too that might be able to pull it off. Alex Bowman might be able to do something up there, and we see a lot of the good drivers, and then we see the guys that are what we would say kind of mediocre, and they're still making top 5 finishes. So it'll be an interesting race. But one thing I want to do before we totally get into going out to Atlanta Motor Speedway or EchoPark, when they change the points, and we right now we just rank it on who has the fastest lap and what position you start in, and of course the first place finish. Now that we've had that for a few years, I was thinking after the race last night, I think it'd be kind of fun to go back to awarding anyone that led a lap a point, and whoever led the most laps a point. I thought I was thinking about that. I was like, that would even bring more competition and more strategy for these crew chiefs if we just added those little ones back in. I know we took them away when we went to just 1 point for the fastest lap in 2017. But between 2011 and 2016, I thought it was still pretty cool for 1 point for leading the lap and one point for leading the most. And it would help some other drivers too. So what do you guys think about that, Kevin?
I mean, I've always been a fan of the Winston Cup format, and that's exactly what it was. I mean, it awarded different point value, but it leading the most laps of the race, because you could have a maximum points day, before stages, you'd go out, lead the most laps, lead a lap, win the race. That's how you maximize your points. I'd like to see them do that as well, Jeff. I think that's a fair thing to do, whether it's 1 point, 3 points, whatever they want to do with it, 5 points for leading the most laps. That would make sense, right? Because what we would see is, instead of guys staying out for stage points, let me, take some pit strategy here. We'll lead this lap and grab a point there. Kind of helps some of the guys towards the back of the point standings. I like it. I would get behind that 100%.
Yeah, I'm definitely for it too. I mean, I love that because I always think back to the 92 championship where I'm pretty sure that's how Alan Quickie won, was because he led the most laps or whatever. So I'm all for it because we mentioned many times, every single point counts no matter what. Anything that you give up, anything that you can get, every point counts. So I definitely be there for it. And I think NASCAR will look at it and change things over the next few years once they see how this chase format goes. But we just got to see how it goes, because I always think about 2011 under that chase format. So we'll just have to, I don't know, see how it all goes.
Yeah, like you're talking about the 5 points from 1975 to 2010, drivers were awarded 5 bonus points for leading at least one lap and 5 additional points for leading the most laps. And then they changed it in 2011. So I think that would be a good change. Give them the 1 point for leading the lap, 1 point for the most laps led, which would have helped William Byron in this one again, get even more points, and still keep the fastest lap. Other than that, I think that would be a great change for next year.
And I think with Steve O'Donnell in command, he's open to stuff like this, and I think that's a great idea. Most of the drivers would get behind it. Anytime you're going to put points out there for grabs, let's do it. It's competition. Let's make it, I don't want to say easier, but let's put some more options out there to gain points, right? It's always been a points-based sport. We're in our first trial run and bringing the chase back, so I am for it. And we're on to EchoPark Speedway here. Like Sky said, pretty much just draw a name out of the hat. I mean, there's some consistency. If we look back over the years, you see a couple common names that keep coming up in the top 5, right? Chase Elliott won this race a year ago. Tyler Reddick back in the winter/spring. I'm going to go ahead and make my first pick and say that the Hurricane, Carson Hocevar, goes out and gets his second win of the season here at EchoPark.
Carson is not a bad pick. He embodies super speedway racing very well. I originally had Ryan Blaney circled, but something in my gut is telling me to switch it. So I'm going to go with Austin Cindric. I just feel like he's had a pretty good run recently. Like Jeff mentioned earlier, it's probably the best run that he's had at Penske. He's been better than Joey most of the time. So I almost went with Joey. I was one of the Penske guys. I got to give him some luck. And Larson just led me so astray last week. So I'm going to go with the 2 of Austin Cindric.
Well, you give that to a little bit of love there. And Kevin, you and the Hurricane Hocevar. But I'll tell you who I'm going to take right now because I think he's got a damn good shot. He's been running really, really well. I'm going with the number 9 of Chase Elliott.
Oh, yeah, little Georgia boy.
That would be a hometown win. That's a good pick, Jeff. I think he's
right.
due.
Yeah.
He won this race a year ago. So I don't think it's crazy to go with the 9. The fans would absolutely love it. I mean, the Georgia, where's Dawson Bill from Dawsonville, right? That's about an hour from this racetrack. So good picks. But I think anybody can go out and win this race. I'll tell you, fantasy wise, I'm not using, my heavy hitters, the guys I only have 1 or 2 uses left on, like Ty Gibbs, Denny Hamlin. I'm not running them this weekend, Jeff, right? We're trying to limp this thing through the rest of the summer, saving some picks there where we can. But, it's a roll of the dice. I think Michael McDowell, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., I think those guys always shine on these super speedway style racetracks.
I was getting ready to say you got to throw the 71 in there because he's usually well. I said earlier the 34, Todd Gilliland. I feel like he's always around at the end of these races. Probably even like Riley Herbst, maybe Corey Haim. I don't know. Corey Haim's probably not racing. So Riley Herbst would be a really good pick because I feel like they're just these drivers that you don't expect it to end up around at the end.
Maybe the 88 can hang in.
Maybe.
We'll see. We will see for sure. There's going to be some storylines coming out of the Peach State. It's another night race, guys. I kind of do like these night races. They call it Hot Atlanta. It makes sense why we're going to put it under the lights. 7 p.m. Eastern over there on TNT. Should be good. Let's hope for no rain. Let's keep this thing going. We don't want to run it on Monday, right? Let's keep these races on time best we can. I think NASCAR's done good with adjusting the format if we need to do that. So Hampton, Georgia, here we come. EchoPark Speedway. We'll be back next Monday night to break down all the action from the EchoPark Speedway. And until then, y'all,
Ash the gas.
I feel the instant scream.